So it is Wednesday. We had a chance to see Ranger take the mound, and by the way that it always works out, with a successful start and win for Ranger Suarez means we get to bring in our buddy Jim Salisbury. You can't have Ranger Suarez success without being able to chat with Jim here on the show. Jim, yet again, here we are talking about all the history that Ranger made, and the remarkable thing that we've been discussing. You have to look back 100 plus years for some of the records that he's setting and the numbers that he's pitching at. But again, another win for Ranger, 10 Ks on the night, the second time in his career he's done that. And of course, now being a Cy Young favorite. What are your thoughts on Ranger Suarez as an all-star, a Cy Young favorite, and to just continue this success throughout the remainder of the season, most importantly?
Yeah, he's become entertainment tonight. It's like I used to say that about Ryan Howard all the time, that Ryan Howard was a hold it player. And by that, I mean, if you had to go to the bathroom, you held it when he came to the plate. You didn't want to miss it. Ranger Suarez is becoming that for 7 or 8 innings every fifth day. He's a lot of fun. Love to see him attack the strike zone with that deep mix of pitches and effective mix of pitches. And he ain't just blowing people away. He's really, out thinking them and out executing them. And as for your questions about Cy Young, too early. But, here we are basically 2 months in, just about 2 months in. And if you want to call him a favorite, I think you can absolutely do that. One of the 2 or 3 favorites in that group. If he keeps this up for another 4 months, you're probably going to see him raise that trophy. As far as I think the All-Star game question is probably more timely because we're kind of barreling down the pike toward that. And you're going to see him, depending on how the Phillies schedule shapes up, you're going to see him in the conversation to start that game, and deservedly so. At the very least, I think you'll see him at that game, in that game, with a couple more good ones. He might be there already.
Jim, to you, what's been the most impressive part about Ranger? We just went through some of the advanced numbers on his curveball and sinker. He's getting a 65% ground ball rate. He's second in baseball in ground ball rate. And I think you almost saw it with the Rangers last night in their approach to him. It was like just kind of try to get the bat head around through the zone and almost like flail at it. I think it's a credit to him that he's so deceiving. He'll throw 6 pitches. Guys don't really know how to approach him in the box. What's been the most impressive, singular thing about Ranger this year to you?
I don't have one thing because I'd have to give you 5 or 6 things, and it probably all leads back to the fact that he's a quote unquote pitcher who has a deep mix of pitches and can locate pretty much every one of them. The soft contact is huge. I mean, to me, there's this, in the baseball world we live in today, there's a real emphasis on missing bats. But, there was a time where I heard great baseball men tell me, you can't be afraid of contact. Ranger Suarez is not afraid of contact. But what he does is he keeps it on the ground or it's soft. And he does that by the old-fashioned way, by upsetting hitters' timing. With location, with movement, by keeping it off the barrel of the bat, by the hitter is thinking about what you're going to do, and he is game planned for you, but you're a step ahead of him. You're going to do something different. So he is pure pitcher, and he's not just 1, 2, or 3 pitches. He's like 5 or 6. He can, on any given night, something's working better than the other. He can ride that, and then the minute you start adjusting to it, he can switch and go to another place. But the location, the way he can pinpoint a pitch on a right-hander's hands and then go away with something soft is really impressive. And dare I say the intangibles, you're in the center of the diamond. You have 43,000 sets of eyes on you. You have that other dugout on you, everybody on TV. And, he looks like he's honestly in the backyard pitching BP to his nephew. He's that poised, and he's been that way all along. I mean, when he came up, he was kind of a straight liner, kind of shrugged, didn't think too much, big smile, happy to be there, no stress, no heartbeat, whatever cliche you want to use. But now he's backed up that great intangible with good health, with experience, with the maturation of talent. And that's why we're discussing him as a Cy Young candidate if things continue to go the way they're going, and a potential All-Star
Who do
game
we owe for
starter.
Ranger? Is that Rube and his scouts?
What's that?
Who do we owe for Ranger? Is that Ruben Amaro and his scouts there? Like, who
Yeah, he
can
came
we
in
send
the. I'm not sure.
edible
I'd have to look
arrangement
it up
to?
the year he signed if it was Ruben's or, but Ruben was there in that front office, and so Ranger was a soccer player in Venezuela, a young soccer player, gifted soccer player, loves soccer. He's always running around in a Union shirt in the outfield,
There you go,
in the
Renee.
afternoon getting his workout in. Loves soccer and probably was a more gifted soccer player. Played. They've actually written quite a bit about this. He was playing town ball, youth ball, and
Sure.
he was an outfielder. And you can kind of imagine him being athletic, going after balls in the outfield. And they were short a pitcher one day, and they put him on the mound, and he looked like he'd been there forever, apparently. And they said to him, "Hey, you did a good job there. You want to do it again next week?" And that's how he became a pitcher. And whenever you're signing players and procuring players, player procurement is so huge to an organization. It's a team effort. It's
Sure.
a team effort, and they have some local scouts in Venezuela, associate scouts who work for the team, and always have their antennae up for young, talented players. And Ranger was 15 or 16 when some of the local bird dog type scouts got a whiff of him, kind of put their projection cap on and said, this guy might be something someday. And what they do in turn is they report back to home base, and Sal Agustinelli in those days was the director of international scouting. He had a team. They're in Venezuela all the time. They looked at him. They liked him. And they gave him an opportunity to play professional baseball. He signed at the bargain rate. His signing bonus was $25,000. And now he goes to their academy in Latin America. He comes to the States, and he just continues his growth. He pitched a no-hitter in short season rookie ball, kind of got on a lot of people's radar. I think it was a 7-inning no-hitter, but nonetheless. So everybody liked his pitchability from the beginning. They liked the arm. They liked the intangibles. They liked the athleticism. And to me, he's a real credit to their scouting, their Latin American scouting system, and their player development system. They did a good job laying eyeballs on him, a good job getting him into the system, and a good job developing him. Boom, 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 level by level. Spun his wheels a little bit early in his big league time. But now we're just seeing the accumulation of a lot of good instruction and a lot of people's efforts, including Rangers, but his instructors. And like I said, health, talent, confidence, it's all kind of come together in this season. And I think it's safe to say he's going to be a good one for a while, because he's not max effort. It doesn't look like he's got one of those blowout deliveries, and probably going to make a lot of money as a free agent after 2025. And I don't know what they're talking about upstairs, but I'll tell you what, I bet they have a lot of meetings that include the subject. We got this homegrown guy who's become a great pitcher. He's the next guy we need to think about locking up here before he gets to free agency after 2025. So that's kind of the long and short how they got him. And over the years, their international system has taken some heat because they've never really landed a Soto. They've never landed an Acuna. But I think they've done pretty well on a number of really good players. Sir Anthony Dominguez was a good one. I know he's sputtered a little bit here this year, but he was a find. Carlos Ruiz for $8,000. I mean, the same summer they signed Pat Burrell for $8 million, they signed Carlos Ruiz for $8,000.
Wow.
And they were both world champions. Suarez is another one. And there are others. I mean, Rojas is another one. He's a player who's getting better. We don't know where he's going to go. So good job by a lot of folks on Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, and Jim, as you mentioned, I know in the chat it was also said as well, and our own producer Tyler dropped this nugget. It was Ruben that said on WIP that he credits Sal for finding Ranger. It's just great to see how this organization has been able to develop talent and have homegrowns. As we're talking Ranger Suarez, another one of those talents that at 27 years old is turning a major corner in his career in Alec Bohm. And Bohm this year to be at a batting average of 333, an OPS of 924, but also leading the league in a number of stats offensively, including being at the top of the stats for MLB for RBIs with 44 coming into today. In the last 7 games, Alec Bohm has had 11 RBIs and just continues to help thrive when there are runners in scoring position. So as we talk about that development, we are seeing the results of the Phillies coaching and development over the years to help guys like Ranger and Alec be ones that now are, as you mentioned, entertainment's must-watch baseball. Alec Bohm's play, though, has been remarkable, and every time he steps up to bat, or even at third base, you feel like you're going to get something great from him. What are your thoughts on just how he's really been able to consistently help the Phillies? I mean, 4 for 7 with runners in scoring position last night. A big part of that is Alec Bohm.
Honestly, Renee, I'm running out of superlatives for Alec Bohm. I mean, you mentioned Ranger in comparison to Alec Bohm. Ranger was more a diamond in the rough. I think he required a lot more time in player development. Alec Bohm was a college player at a really good college program in Wichita State. Wasn't even drafted out of high school, but went to Wichita State, had 3 good years, and really didn't just get on people's radar with his performance and his development at the college level. He was the number 3 pick in the country, and he got to the big leagues quickly. So I think he had a lot more polish as a baseball player when he entered the Phillies player development program than Ranger did. That is not to say they haven't done a good job with him in player development. And a lot of it has happened at the big league level, a lot of his development. And I credit Kevin Long, the hitting coach, and his staff, because, it's not just the hitting coach. I mean, I remember the days where there weren't even hitting coaches. Now you have hitting coach staffs, but they've done a really good job with Alec Bohm. And so has, Bobby Dickerson and Larry Boa and the people who instruct their infielders in making him real competent. As Rob Thompson would say, an average major league defender. He's done a really good job on defense, shining up his game and brushing it up. So, but he's turning out to be kind of everything you would expect the number 3 pick in the country to be, everything you would hope the number 3 pick in the country would be. I mean, they spent a really high, valuable pick on this guy, and he's paying off. And, Matt Klentak led baseball operations in those days. And, they drafted Alec Bohm. And I know Matt really liked Alec Bohm because of his ability to, quote, control the strike zone. Matt and his people really liked Bryson Stott because of his ability to control the strike zone. So those draft picks from that regime are both really paying off. But as I mentioned, I'm running out of superlatives for Bohm on both sides of the ball. And he was a gifted hitter coming out of college. And he had some ups and downs along the way as he got into the major league level. For this reason, the major league level is the hardest level of baseball on earth. These guys are really good. And it takes a little bit of time to adjust to this level. It takes a little time to believe you can do it at this level. And he's done that. And one consistent aspect of his game from the time he came to the majors during the pandemic year was his ability to give you a good at bat with runners on base. It kind of fueled his second place finish in the Rookie of the Year voting that year when he was tied with Cronenworth. His ability to hit with runners on base, and it's just gotten better and better and better. Every time he comes up with a runner on base, I expect him to drive him in, and lo and behold, last night he figured out a way to kind of fillet one into right center, drove in a run, drove in another run. He's terrific with runners on base. And he's, you've seen what he's done the last month. You've seen what Bryce Harper's done. He's had this quiet, sneaky awesome month, Bryce Harper. He's not even like molten yet, and he's going to get there at some point. But
Schwarber's coming
Alec
too,
Bohm
Jim.
provided him some really quality protection in that cleanup spot with his ability to make really good contact and have really good at bats and be in the back of the mind of that pitcher as they're facing Bryce Harper. Now, if somebody's in the back of your mind when you're facing Bryce Harper and you cut one off or you don't execute it perfectly, Harper's going to hurt you, and that's what he did last night.